off-road front tread, everything different, trying to keep this machine from crashing. Everybody who watches U.S. Harvard Association Mud Racing knows that this is the wildest single vehicle on the circuit, and Shelley, all Mike wants to do is make it through this pit without crashing. He finished number 2 in the preliminary round.
Well, I think all the Corvette fans are rooting for him so that he'll finish first tonight.
The wildest single machine in this business. The mark to beat, 2.19 seconds. A great run, airborne for the Mud Shark, landing relatively straight though, and that is what the Mud Shark is all about. There it is, fist in the air. Mike Erderly taking, as always, a wild, wild ride through this 65-foot-long mud pit.
He seems pleased with it.
I guess we'll have to admit that that run may be good enough to challenge the Mud Patrol team of Tom Martin and Greg Stone for the number 1 spot. The mark to beat, 2.19 seconds. Let's look at the replay. Always a wild ride.
He stayed on top the whole time.
Looks like a little bit of excess smoke out of the left bank of cylinders there. That may have been an engine problem coming up, but the elapsed time, the mark to beat was 2.19 seconds. Mike Erderly, the incredible Mud Shark, as we watch him go airborne over the finish line, 2.29 seconds. Look at this thing. 4 feet in the air, the typical Mud Shark rough landing. Erderly steers her straight away from the net and away from the walls. Here's another angle of that incredible run. Now you can see the ruts that have developed in the track, and Erderly is trying to stay within them, sideways across the finish line and then airborne, missing the number 1 spot by 1/10 of a second. We will return with more championship mud racing action, and you don't want to leave because we've got some of the greatest mud racers ever. We're back for more championship mud bog racing with the biggest superstars in this sport today at the United States Harvard Association Mud Racing Championships in Evansville, Indiana. An amazing truck, no doubt. No supercharger, no fuel injection, 1 4-barrel carburetor burning gasoline. He does use nitrous oxide injection for that extra oxygen and about 400 extra horsepower.
I told him to forget he's on TV tonight.
He said he was gonna.
We'll pretend we're not here.
Well, he made it through, but the TV jinx continues. Lots of tire spin. You could see the engine popping and banging at about the 25-foot marker. As he leaves the starting line with a lot of tire spin, you see the flashes of fire out of the pipe, Shelley, and that indicated the engine problems, possibly the nitrous oxide not quite right. 4.20 seconds the elapsed time. It'll unfortunately keep him well down in the pack.
Well, at least he didn't break anything on the car.
That's true. The best part about his last couple of national event appearances is that he hasn't broken any major parts, and his limited budget is still allowing him to attend events. Tim Hall from Champaign, Illinois, with a brand new piece of equipment, the Hall brothers' gorgeous new Obsession Ford Ranger. This altered wheelbase Ford-powered machine made its maiden voyage in the preliminary round. And indeed, Shelley, these guys may be ones to watch. They spared no expense in building this fuel-injected Ford-powered Bronco. Leaves the starting line with a horrible amount of tire spin, and the Obsession boys are not going to do much on this run. Digging in, and again, looks like we may have had a transmission problem there. A lot of smoke out of the engine. You can see the wheels stop, but the RPMs kept rising. And it looks like Tim Hall is in the cockpit saying, oh, what have I done?
You know, this 21-year-old has been racing for 7 years now, so if experience counts, he should be able to have a good run out of it.
That's true. At our most recent event in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Chad Miller in the Instant T 1927 Ford T Roadster recorded his best ever elapsed time. Now, this nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected, 509 cubic inch Chevy powered machine is one of the very few street roaster or drag racing style altered machines that are running in mud racing. The mark to beat, still the national points leaders, Tom Martin and his driver Greg Stone in the Mud Patrol, and 2.19 seconds. And there's the green flag as Chad Miller looks down the track, slaps down the face shield, and prepares to launch. A good run, good run. Sideways across the finish line and spinning her out before the net. Who said this track's going away? You can get that thing off the line if you know how to do it. The Instant T Roadster, again, proving that that design is one of the most efficient in all of mud racing, Shelley. Here's the slow motion replay. You can see a little bit of tire spin off the starting line, but instantly up on the mud, and that's exactly what he was looking for. The elapsed time, 2.62 seconds, should be good for one of the top 4 spots. Look at that thing blast across the finish line, airborne out of the pit, then locking up the brakes as he heads for the safety net and spinning her out. Looking at it from a head-on angle, Shelley, you can see how those ruts helped him.
Oh, yeah, he's right in there, but he stays on top. So many of the other drivers had problems where they'd get into a rut and they'd sink right to the bottom.
And even when it goes sideways, the ruts help keep him in bounds past the finish line as he takes a wild bouncing ride down through the shutdown area. But indeed, 2.62 seconds. On the starting line next, Melvin Brown. We already saw him make a run in the Blue Max, his own mud racer, Shelley, but this is the machine originally campaigned by Rod Haverty, the Budweiser-sponsored funny car-style Jeep that Melvin is now campaigning out of his Ewington, Ohio hometown.
Well, Melvin's keeping this racing and logging career all in the family. His dad is on his pit crew, and he's expected to get his own vehicle later this year.
Budweiser-sponsored fiberglass body Jeep CJ with a fuel injection. Chevy makes another good run, carrying the left front wheel for more than half of the course. A lot of torque and a lot of horsepower evident in that incredible Chevy-powered Jeep, Shelley. Melvin had a little bit of tire spin problems off the starting line, but once it got up, you'll be able to see on the replay that left front tire literally off the ground. Let's watch head on. Look, the left front tire comes up immediately. Nothing but torque from this Chevrolet. And look at it. The left front tire never even in the mud. 2.59 seconds will move him by 0.03 of a second into the number 4 spot ahead of Chad Miller.
And you can just see how his brakes lock up there, too.
Yeah,
he's in control the whole time.
As soon as you feel that kill switch shut the motor down, you hit the brakes and prepare to stop these things. Now, from another angle, look at that. Is that a beautiful picture of horsepower? The left front wheel up from sheer torque, never even touching the mud. Blasted across the finish line. That is an amazing shot. Our cameramen did their job there.
Oh, and an amazing car, too. What power.
This is Mark Green, and during the preliminary round, Green had one of the most astounding starting line launches I've ever seen, Shelley. If anybody has a perfect suspension for a mud racer in competition here tonight at Evansville, Indiana, this man does.
I'm looking forward to seeing how well he does tonight because he came in with a good time in the preliminaries last night. 2.19.
Excellent pass during the first round. 468 cubic inch big block Chevrolet. You can see that it has carburetors and not fuel injectors on top. But it does, of course, use nitrous oxide injection. The Mac Tools sponsored Chevy-powered Jeep CJ. The Jeep Heartbeat, as it is called, moves it up. Puts it into gear, slaps down the face shield, sets his line down that track, and now nails the throttle. A good run, and man, did he drive it out the back door into the safety net, the first man that actually had to use that USHRA Association safety innovation that has saved so many racers' machines. But this innovation, like I said, purely for the safety of the hall, the arena, and of course the racers' machines, has worked flawlessly. And you only see that kind of safety innovations in USHRA Association racing. On the starting line launch, a little bit of tire spin. That's something we've come to expect with the elapsed time. 2.44 seconds should be good again for the number 4 spot. Well, the number 4 spot's taking a beating, Shelley.
Well, it seems like it's very popular, but I'm sure most of them would prefer to be number 3 or number 2.
Airborne across the shutdown area, finally landing, and then into the net. The last man with a chance to knock the incredible Mud Patrol 32 Ford of Tom Martin and Greg Stone out of the number 1 spot is Tim Ritchie, the Michigan racer with a Jeep funny car that has, of all things, Shelley, another Chrysler power plant inside.
Well, if anybody can beat Tom's record, it certainly could be learning to fly. Tim Ritchie has racing in his blood. His whole family's involved with the race business. They own the track and trail racetrack out in Buchanan.
Buchanan, Michigan veteran with a 512 cubic inch Dodge wedge engine with 2 4-barrel carburetors and nitrous oxide injection. Already this season at USHRA Association Racing has put down a couple of tremendous low 2-second elapsed times, and certainly is a threat to the Mud Patrol team, and Tom Martin and Greg Stone know it. This event will not be over until this machine crosses the finish line and we receive the elapsed time. The starting line crew hooking up the kill switch, now telling him to stage her up and pointing to the flagman. He's ready. And popping is banging off the starting line for Tim Ritchie. A lot of smoke up underneath the engine compartment. He makes it across the finish line, but no question, that was not good enough to knock the Mud Patrol out of the number 1 spot. And indeed, our winners again. The superstars of this sport, Tom Martin and Greg Stone in the Mud Patrol 32 Ford. Tim Ritchie obviously very disappointed, Shelley. Let's look on the replay.
As you can see, his front tires are up, but he starts to get a little bit bogged down.
The elapsed time, 5.40 seconds. Indeed, not anywhere near good enough to make a difference in this championship battle.
And you can see there's quite a bit of smoke coming out of there towards the end.
That's true, and I don't think that was just steam, Shelley. I think that meant engine problems for the big block Chrysler-powered Jeep funny car. But indeed, the Mud Patrol of Tom Martin and Greg Stone wins again here at U.S. Auto Association Championship action, and indeed we'll be back from Evansville, Indiana, and Roberts Municipal Stadium in just a moment.